parish of St. Martin is a Roman Catholic church at Altdorf in the state of Uri in Switzerland. It is dedicated to St. Martin of Tours and built between 1602 and 1606 according to the plans by master builder Rocco Ruggia. In the history of the development of Swiss sacred architecture, the St. Martin has a special position, because it is the first early Baroque church built in German-speaking Switzerland, and it is also classified as a cultural importance. The patronage of the church has been known since 1260 through a pictorial representation of St. Martin on a pastor's seal. In 1244, the Bishop of Constance gave up the income of the parish in favor of the Fraumünster in Zurich. With the separation of Sisikon in 1387, the parish began to shrink until 1665 with only the municipality of Altdorf. During the Reformation around 1525, the mayor and council of the reformed city of Zurich, the legal successor to the Fraumünster Abbey, renounced a feudal obligation to the parish of Altdorf, after which the church administration passed completely to the village. Construction. Based on excavations, 4 previous buildings could be proven at the site of the church. The first dates back to the 3rd quarter of the 7th century and had a nave about 10 meters wide and 3 Alemannic stone tombs with grave goods, which is now in the Historical Museum of the Canton of Uri. The second church was from the 9th or 10th century, and traces of the choir have survived. The third Romanesque hall church was built in the 12th century, the first to have a tower. The fourth church, built in the first half of the 14th century with Gothic style, exceeded the dimensions of the previous buildings many times over. After an earthquake damaged it in 1601, the parishioners decided a year later to rebuild the eastern part with the choir and the sacristy. Werner Landowman Sebastian von Bergoldingen took over the planning and entrusted the master builder Rocco Ruggia from Lugano with the execution. Ruggia built in the Baroque style, which had become fashionable in northern Italy and now being used for the first time in the German-speaking Switzerland. Since the Gothic nave no longer fitted in with the newly built eastern section, Ruggia was commissioned in 1603 to rebuild this part as well. Leonhard Schlafter from Appenzell was hired for the roof construction and the carpentry. In 1605, the exterior work was completed, and a year later the church tower was raised. The Bishop of Constance, Jakob Fugger, consecrated the church on October 1, 1606. The construction cost totaled 28,300 guilders. A devastating fire on April 5, 1799, destroyed around 400 buildings, and the church was also affected. The fire destroyed the upper part of the tower, the roof of the choir and the nave, as well as large part of the interior. Joseph Ritter, the master woodworker of the city of Lucerne, recommended the demolition of the top part of the walls and their height by 3.3 meters, as well as an extension of the chancel by 3 meters. This work was carried out in 1801 and finished in 1803. In 1895, an exterior renovation took place, while in 1903, an interior renovation. A complete restoration followed in 1965 to 71, accompanied by archaeological investigations. Designs. The stucco work and paintings on the ceiling date entirely from the years 1802 to 03. The main oval painting extends over 3 bays. It was made by Giovanni Battista Baggiuti from Rovio and represents Saint Martin of Tours ascending to heaven. Other oval paintings by the same artist depict the miracle of the raising of a dead child and Martin's death. A large format painting by Johannes Nepomuk from around 1740 can be found above the south portal. The attached sacristy has 3 floors, whereby the lower floor has completely preserved the original condition of the 1602 design. The chancel, which has been raised by 6 steps, also show parts of the original stucco work. The stone vault withstood the fire of 1799, but the stucco work there was knocked off. The high altar designed by Carlo Andrea Gialetti in 1804 combines 2 Italian altar types, Cibarium and Reredos. The wooden statues of the apostles Paul and Peter, painted in white, come from Franz Abbot, and the altarpiece with the crucifixion scene is from Joseph Anton Mesmer. The choir stalls was created in 1808 by Felix Anton Hediger. The 2 side altars in the nave, both created by Gialetti in 1804, are flattery tables made of stucco marble. On the south side is a painting by Xaver Hecht called The Death of Saint Joseph. The altar of Mary on the north side contains a rosary painting by Joseph Anton Mesmer. The pulpit, designed by Gialetti in 1803 and executed by Johann Joseph Musbrugger in 1804. It is a finely instrumented and rich in figures. Now we finish the history of the church, let's go out and explore some more. In addition to the parish church, the church district also includes the St. Anna Ossuary Chapel to the south and the Mount of Olives Chapel to the north and the cemetery. The historic chapel of St. Anna was built in 1596 and originally served as an ossuary. The architect of the church was most likely the Lucerne master stoneworks Anton Isenman. It is dedicated to St. Anna and is 2-story. But strangely, both levels have their own entrance but are not spatially connected to each other. The architectural design belongs stylistically to the late Renaissance, but the tall and slender structure without buttresses indicates an early Baroque, which came into its own for the first time in the following decade in the new construction of the parish church. The upper floor has lancet windows while the entrance portal is round arch. On the west wall hangs a painting by the Flemish painter Denis Calvert. The motif of the picture is the Lamentation of Christ. Particularly noteworthy is the final parapet designed by sculptor Johannes Dube in 1596 against the descent into the lower chapel. The balustrade, which is designed as memento mori, is unique not only in Switzerland but far beyond. In the large midfield, there is a commemorative inscription for the client. Due to the location on a mountain slope, the lower floor is only recognizable from the church square further down. The low hall is vaulted by an almost round arched iron. The forged iron grid separates the front part of the room. It is decorated with the alliance of coat of arms of the 2 founders, Landamman Emanuel Stanislaus Putner and his wife Maria Anna Catarina Lucer. And lastly, the Olberg Chapel. This early Baroque building, built in 1656 to 57, stands behind the northern mountain facade of the parish church of St. Martin. The chapel completed the renewal of the church district 6 decades earlier. The building is oriented from the southwest to the northeast and faces the rearmost church entrance. To the left of the entrance is the sculpted high grave of the hermit Nicolaus Swer, who died in 1546. So that's it for the brief history of the chapel. And we finish walking around the church district, visiting the St. Martin Tours Church and the Chapel of St. Anna and the Olberg Chapel. Until next time, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Bye!
So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell. Come on guys, hit the bell.
For notifications.
And don't forget to share.
And like!